And we're live. Hi, welcome back to my third official stream. I'm gonna try not to shake the desk too much because I don't know why, but it keeps wobbling all weird. Um, let's see. Oh, let me make sure that this is working actually. Welcome back to everyone and welcome to new folks. My name is Lindy Jung. I am a science fiction and fantasy writer, and today we're just going to be chatting, answering questions. I like to help workshop and troubleshoot people have any. And then on top of that, we're gonna do a couple of sprints. I'm thinking like 15 to 20 minutes or 25 minutes. Usually I don't do more than that. So let me know what works best for y'all. And feel free to drop any questions in the chat, say hello. I hope we have a good session. And let me just make sure that my audio is working. I wonder if it is. Okay. All right. So everyone's saying, "Hi. Hi, Brielle. Oh my god, it's so good to see you." I feel like I've said this before, but I went and did a writing sprint or stream with Brielle, like, last month, I think, and that totally invigorated me to start doing these regularly on my own channel, so huge shout out to Brielle for doing that, and check out her videos, she has amazing stuff. Um, Hello, I have some world building to do for my novel and my weekly gaming sessions. Looking forward to a productive evening. Me too. I I feel like it's been a minute since I've, like, sat down and really focused on writing or anything productive really for a couple of hours straight rather than just little bursts here and there. Um, Sorry, I drink a lot of water in these streams because my voice always goes, so I try to stay hydrated. And anyway, I haven't really written in a while, but I'm excited to get back onto that horse. How are your projects going? Good. Moths is resting right now, so I'm actually gonna be working on a different project, and I've been, like, planning and outlining that over the past who knows how long. But hopefully we can get a finished outline soon because I'm really itching to draft this novel, and I am just raring to go on that. Audio and video are both working. Thank you. I appreciate that check-in. Sometimes, I don't know, I feel like my tech or the StreamYard tech just craps out, and it's really annoying. I forgot I joined this and your voice jump scared me. I'm so sorry about that. Love seeing you in your live stream era. Me too. I just really enjoy these every time. I feel like they're kind of tiring, but in a good way because I get so much done and I get to like talk a lot. And it's a lot of fun all the time. So, okay. Well, if anyone has a question to drop, we can do a little question session. Otherwise, I am very much down to just go into that first sprint. Here's a couple more. I'm making a writing journal and I'd love to send you one. Oh, yeah, if you could email me my business email. It's been having some issues lately. I feel like a lot of stuff has been going to spam for some reason, but if you want to send me a quick email, we can talk. Um, Hi, your cherry cardigan looks so lovely. Thank you. Okay, so that the tea on this is that I made it myself from scratch completely. I crochet. I've mentioned it a couple times in vlogs. Sorry, I'm like insecure about how my hair looks. Oh, but I great start to the stream. Absolutely fabulous. And that just made me realize that my microphone is actually plugged into, yep, my AirPods. Great. Should be this. Okay. That should be better. Yeah, I'm so sorry about that. I hate when it automatically changes the input because it should always be this microphone. Like I've only ever used this microphone as input, but it randomly switches to AirPod. But yeah, I made this cardigan and it took me only a couple months. It's the third one I've ever made, and it's the first one I've made for myself. It's the first one I've made that like fits normally on a human body because usually the armpits are like this. But I'm super proud of it, and I just need to put buttons on it. Excited to write today. Need to finish editing a chapter. Yeah, I hope you get that done. How much do you have left on it? I'll be working with my ideas on my magnetic board. Nice. Have you ever done a writing retreat while at home? If so, do you have any tips to make it super fun? I haven't. I've been meaning to do one with like friends. A couple of my friends are artists, so we'll sometimes have like a sit down and like draw slash write session, like a creative couple hours here and there. But no, I guess to make it feel fun and special, set aside the whole day, get yourself some, like, special snacks or treats. Tea is always good, and yeah, just try to focus on the things that you like, try to make the writing process enjoyable, I guess, like, have it feel like a treat so that it doesn't feel like you're just sitting at home and working all day. But yeah, that I haven't really done one, so I guess that's all I can say. Thank you. I wore it out to, a baby shower I went to yesterday, and it was at a botanical garden, and, like, a random woman complimented me, and I don't know if this was, like, braggy or not, but I just was like, "Oh, I made it," and she was very impressed, so thank you to that random woman. Yes, I'm sorry about my AirPods falling out, that's so embarrassing. What vibes is your new book? It's I've mentioned this before, it's, like, very gothic, that's pretty much all there is to it. It's, not quite dark fantasy, but it's very morose, I guess you'd say. And it is about necromancers, so there's a lot of, like, death and that kind of thing. But it goes a little bit beyond that. But I'm not quite finished planning it yet, so I don't want to say. Oh my gosh, other people who crochet. I don't know anyone in real life who crochets other than me. So I've just been teaching myself, and I don't know. I feel like I could learn more if I had more of a circle and, like, exchange patterns. My one big gripe about crochet is that yarn, like, the amount of yarn you need to make, like, nice quality things is quite expensive, and I'm a student, so I'm broke, but I love crochet. It's such a good hobby. Do you have a favorite character from your dark academia project? Um, I feel like they all kind of are not the best people. So the Dark Academia project is Project Mods, which I've been working on for the past couple years at this point and recently finished and revised and all that stuff. Um, Honestly, the main character, her name is Lark. She's probably my favorite just because I feel like she's so I mean, she just to me has gone through so much relatable stuff. And that is obviously part of that is I wrote a lot of her experiences from personal experience, but also just like beyond that, I was able to kind of craft her into her own person where her backstory, like, really and her upbringing, all of that really ties into why she is the way she is now, and she was, like, probably one of the most interesting and developed characters I've written, in my opinion. I don't know if all of that shines through on the page, but, I really like her just from a writing perspective. I'm using this to do research because Greek mythology needs so much. Yeah, fair. I'm also doing like a little bit of I'm doing a little bit of historical research as well. Uh-huh. And it's kind of a pain because I feel like if you're looking into a time period, which I'm doing, there's so many different facets that you have to specifically go into. So for me, I have to look into the economics, the religion and religious politics and politics in general, and then like the grander scope of the world at the time and like what was happening with neighboring countries and empires. So it's kind of a lot. Any advice on how to stop thinking about what your audience might think of your work before even getting it out there? Um, That's a great question. I haven't quite mastered that yet. I haven't really defeated that demon quite yet, but I think honestly, once you kind of okay, one thing that's helped is instead of trying to think of like everyone in the world and how they'll respond to your work before it gets out there, because obviously there's gonna be people who don't like it, who don't respond to it the way you'd like. That's just life. You can't please anyone. No one can. It's impossible. Don't even try. I would say focus on the people who will understand it and who you are writing for. So for me, that was like a lot of the times when I'm writing about very specific themes, like for example, themes or situations. So for example, my short story, The Fall of Esther Park, was about like Korean American church communities and like queerness within that community and struggling with that. So I was like, okay, the people who will get this the most and resonate with it the most are like other queer Korean Americans who have interacted with or been a part of like the Korean American Christian community. And if people outside of that circle don't get that, that's fine. But this is the audience I'm speaking to, and I want them to get it and them to be like, I see what you did there. So I guess if you can just focus down a little bit, that's maybe not quite the same as like disregarding your audience entirely. But personally, I don't always think that's a good idea. Like you should write for yourself first, but you should also think about how your work will be received by various people. I don't know. I don't know if that's good advice. I'm so sorry. I've only published like 2 things ever. A few more pages. It's mostly straightforward in terms of the edits I need to make, but I've been dragging my feet for weeks on this one. Yeah, I mean, a few more pages, I think you've absolutely got it, and hopefully these sprints will be what you need to get started. Are my ear holes specifically, like, too small for AirPods? What is going on? If I made a fruit cardigan, I would brag about it the rest of the year. This is my second fruit cardigan of the year. My first one was for my friend and it was peaches, but I feel bad because it was like a much shabbier job and I know for a fact it doesn't like exactly fit her right. So I want to make more fruit cardigans for all my friends. So intrigued by the vibes of your new project. Thank you. Um, yeah, I'm excited for this one. I feel like I've been writing progressively darker things. Like my first book that I like finished, and my first like serious book that I finished definitely was on the lighter side. Like it has some heavy themes. It deals a lot with like teen grief and that sort of thing, but it was like kind of funny and just lighter and frothier. And now I'm just like, I don't know. I've been in the dark and heavy themes era. I crochet not a lot, but enough to be offended when people call it knitting. Yeah, it is offensive. And technically I do know how to knit, but I think it's like not. It's slower. It's definitely slower. Might have missed an update. Have you finished editing mods? Yeah, I have. It's edited. It's finished. That's all I'll say about that. Girl, I cannot do earbuds because my ears are so small. They always fall out and I get frustrated. Yeah, I might take these out and just like not hear myself on the stream. I usually just keep them in so I can like, excuse me, check the audio. But they're they keep falling out. And I've been wearing these before. I don't know. Did my ear holes shrink today or something? Like it's just such a mystery. Did you work off a pattern for the cardigan and or cherries or mostly freestyle it? um really, but like a how-to video, and it was Chenda DIY, so Chenda DIY, and she has a lot of really great free crochet tutorials, which is like such a just such a gem of a person. It's the same with writing. Anyone who shares like craft advice or like crochet tutorials for free, they straight to the pearly gates. Um, so I worked off a pattern that was just like the base crochet cardigan thing, and it's like a cropped cardigan, so it's kind of short. And then for the cherries, I just found like a separate tutorial and then just kind of sewed them on. So hopefully they stay on. I've been working on a project for around 2 years now. I haven't gotten past chapter 3 due to the editor at the back of my mind. Yeah, that's fair. It's hard to quell that voice sometimes. If I would, I recommend this to everyone, and I feel bad, but if you feel so inclined, a good way to sort of train that editor in the back of your head and also give yourself that sense of accomplishment is to write a short story and to edit it and to figure out your own weaknesses in writing and the drafting process and your strengths as an editor and sort of just like get used to that process, because I do think that for some people it is very difficult and taxing to have your first writing project be a full-length novel. And that's why a lot of people start out with short fiction and kind of like start writing longer and longer works. It's definitely it's definitely beneficial in a lot of ways to sort of like, if you can handle it, which I don't want to give you advice that you don't want. Take a step back maybe and then just train yourself on short stories for a while. Also wanted to say you inspired me a long time ago to write my own book, and the planning is going along so great. That's so good. It makes me so happy to like hear that people are feeling inspired to write and are pursuing their passion and their stories and their projects. Like, please give me updates on how that story goes and how that project goes, because I seriously would love to hear them. I love your glasses. Thank you. I've had the same ones for years because I genuinely cannot even think about going to the optometrist right now. And also, glasses are very expensive. Any tips on writing faster? I write so slowly, and I don't know if it's because this is the first time I'm taking writing seriously and it's like a beginner thing, or if I'm doomed to be a slow writer. I'm a slow writer. I think I'm like a medium writer, and How quickly I finish a book, like a draft, definitely depends on how prepared I am for it. So right now I'm really focusing on the planning and outlining stages for this book because I want to finish that first draft really quickly. So for me, if I don't prepare in advance, then a lot of the drafting process turns into discovery writing, and I end up, like, meandering and following different rabbit holes and getting lost and finding my track again and then going back and changing things. So if that's the reason that you're slow, then it could be that you could take the time or afford to take the time to go back and maybe plan a little bit better so you know what steps you're taking before you take them. Okay, I'm just gonna try to get through the ones we've got here, and then we're gonna do some sprints here. Excited to finally catch a write in that I can actually write during. Yay! I'm halfway through a story and I need all the gas I can get. I will give you that gas. That sounds really weird, but we're gonna do some sprints and you're gonna get stuff done. Have you ever read fan fiction or do you stay away from it? I don't stay away from it consciously. I definitely like read a little bit of fan fiction when I was younger, but like honestly, I don't care enough about many media franchises enough to like seek out fan fiction for them, if that makes sense. Like I just don't have like the ships or like the media franchises that people get really fixated on. So I feel like I'm not a fan enough of anything to seek out fan fiction for it. My first time joining one of your streams and the vibes are so nice. Working on my gothic paranormal thriller. Yes. Okay, gothic twins over here. I'm glad the vibes are nice. My voice is already going, but I do like talking to you guys. And I like to keep this like a casual, low-key space, so you can drop in or drop out. I don't really care. I'm a screenwriter, but I'm trying to break into prose, and your videos are very helpful because it can be difficult to keep in mind the difference in form. Yeah, yes. I'm so glad it's helpful. That's really interesting. I like hearing about the different places that different writers come into writing from. Thank you. Another thing about the cherry shirt. I'm so glad I wore it on stream. I'm so glad I finished it. It just needs buttons, that's it. I wanna make another one so badly, but I need to, like, focus on the million other crochet projects I've started and not finished. I've wanted to write since I was little, and hearing from a queer writer loving their work and being so excited to release their book gave me the push I needed to write my own. Yes, please write your own. I'm so glad. I'm so glad that you feel that push and that it's coming from my direction. I'm gonna give you that gas. Things like Fuddruckers milkshake today would have said if it could talk. Stop. Not the Fuddruckers milkshake. Okay, there was a Fuddruckers in my hometown when I was little, and it was in this one building. I feel like every suburb has that one like in commercial building that is like low key cursed and a different business is there every couple years. One of those pockets of years was Fuddruckers and then it disappeared. And I kind of just assumed that every Fuddruckers in the nation disappeared with it. Crazy to hear that there's still Fuddruckers out there. Sometimes planning or plotting in advance takes so long that I give up on my idea. It's like I have the itch to start writing, but know the story isn't ready yet. Any tips to deal with this? Yeah, I feel the same kind of frustration with planning and plotting. I have to like really force myself to not go straight into drafting because my instinct is to discovery write, but it's just so time consuming and frustrating for me. Um, if the story isn't ready yet, then you can let it marinate. So I kind of have like an ongoing cycle of ideas. It sounds like you're kind of a high idea volume person, which I am as well. Sometimes my ideas aren't enough to carry a novel, so maybe you can try figuring out a way to convert that idea into a short story, a novella. And other times they just need to marinate. Like I don't know what it is, but the marination process is just setting the idea aside, jotting down notes as they occur to you organically, excuse me, and like not doing anything else for it. Planning actively is very different from like letting the inspiration come, I feel like. I don't know if that makes sense. Letting the ideas kind of flow. But yeah, there's something so valuable about letting an idea rest. This necromancy book that I'm about to start working on, it's been resting for like a good couple years now. And in that time, even though I haven't been working on it actively for like any period of time really, except for small bursts very recently, it has completely changed as a concept and become something that I love and I feel ready to tackle as a novel. So, marination. Have you read Manacled? No, I have not heard of that. I'll look it up though. Yay, been looking for others doing Camp Nano July. Your live popped up, but I've never seen your videos before. Currently plotting. Oh, great. Great to see another person around here. Yeah, I forgot that it was Camp Nano. I keep forgetting. I keep remembering and then forgetting again. But I guess it's not until next month. So I guess next month I might do like a stream every week or something fun. OMG Fuddruckers is my childhood. I think I went there like twice ever, but that is kind of funny. There are still some Fuddruckers, but a lot of them are closing down. Okay, correct me if I'm wrong. Was it a place where you assembled your own burger, or is that something else? I feel like I remember it being that. Make sure to drink your water today, Miss Lynn. Thank you. I will. I'm trying. I'm trying. Do you ever do novels in and out? Stop. That makes me want In and Out. I'm so sorry. I've been living in the Midwest for too long. I haven't had In and Out Burger in so long. Like childhood religion, topics you're passionate about, etc. Yes. Yeah, I draw a lot from personal experience, from topics that interest me. Usually, my books tend to lean heavier on like personal experience type things in terms of like the themes and the challenges that the characters face versus just like topics of interest. But yes, very much. Okay. Brielle says totally agree on letting ideas marinate and evolve. Such a game changer. Yes, it's like I don't know what it is. I truly don't. Something about human psychology, you just got to let the ideas rest. Okay. Let's go ahead and do our first sprint here. Let me just run this. I should have set this up before, but I didn't. All right, I found an aesthetic one. So we'll do that. That's weird. That's a weird layout. Okay. I'm I can deal with that. Yeah, sure. Okay, one more thing about Fuddruckers. I this feels like class. Whenever I try to let ideas marinate, nothing happens. Ugh. Well, then you could try to seek out active inspiration. Like try like active passive inspiration. That's not a good term for that. But what I mean is try to find other forms of media or material that might relate to your original idea and not copy them, but let them sort of like seep into your brain. So for me, that's been a lot of like reading specific classical books that have to do with the time period I'm sort of basing my world off of, watching things set in that time period, reading books set in that time period, or just reading books with that vibe. So things like that, like find things that you can sort of, I guess, your marination juices. Now, this metaphor is getting out of hand, but find different sources of inspiration. And also, like, give yourself time to rest your brain for sure. That is really important. I think for me, when I'm actively writing or working about on a project or thinking about a project, that is when the ideas for other things flow the least, maybe. So don't quote me on that. But if I'm like going for a hike or working out, or, taking a long shower or bath, that's when the ideas hit. Okay. Last Fuddruckers comment. I swear I'm going to get on task. They had a big pile of lettuce hanging out in the open for self-serve. I made my burger like 90% lettuce and it became a wet hunk. That's just a salad with some hamburger patty on it, I feel like, but yes. Okay, we are going to start. Let's do a 25-minute sprint, and I promise I'll get to the rest of the questions after. Let's go for it. Let's do it.
So the first 25 minute sprint has just wrapped up. Everyone let me know how you did, how much you got done. For my part, I was mostly just like doing some research on little things and typing up my notes. So it was pretty productive, but it wasn't like, I didn't get any words in or anything. But yeah, let's go back through and look and see. I think I missed this question. Hi, Lynn, what can I do if I'm stumped after the first chapter? Good question. Outline, plan, I would highly recommend if you're kind of new to the whole like storycraft thing, definitely recommend checking out 3x structure and save the cat beat sheets. These will kind of give you a guideline for what needs to happen next in the story. I don't personally recommend following, especially something as like granular as save the cat to the letter, but it does help you give a good sort of like jumping off point for where you need to go next with your story and where your story might head. So definitely check out different like plot structures and see if that helps you. Another Midwest girly, love to see it. Yeah, I really like it out here. It's definitely like gas is 2.98. Gas has been 2.98 for a while. But yes, I do miss In and Out quite a bit. Hey Lynn, question for you. So, in terms of writing fan fiction, do you think that a really good fan fiction book can rival a solid average original fantasy, or due to the lack of originality, can it not? Mm, So, I mean, like, I feel like there's always exceptions, and also, like I mentioned, I don't really read enough fan fiction to say this concretely, but I think they set out to and excel at accomplishing different things. So, with fan fiction, generally the average person who seeks out fan fiction and reads it and enjoys it is someone who already has a lot of background context for this greater universe that the fan fiction is drawing off of. And so you kind of go in knowing what the deal is. And fan fiction also comes with a plethora of familiar tropes, and not all of it does, obviously, but a fair amount of it definitely kind of it's like romance where there's a certain set of expectations and you kind of know what you're getting into. So fan fiction is really good at those things, like meeting reader expectations and drawing off of an existing world that most people who read the piece 99% will have a ton of context for and enthusiasm about. And original fantasy has to do a lot more like building up groundwork. So you have to establish the world, the characters, everything. Like you have to start from the ground up and build. And a really good fantasy book or a solid average fantasy book should still accomplish those things. So those are very like opposite sides of the spectrum. I think with an edit, if you're trying to turn fan fiction into an original work and it's sufficiently like different enough from the source material that you can do that, then definitely once you're able to put that groundwork in, it can definitely be of the same quality because there's so many talented writers in the fan fiction space. So I mean, from what I've heard, and also I fully believe that. So I feel like it's just like you have to kind of not fix, but change the story to work as an original fantasy because you obviously can't like publish fan fiction in the current market, then you would get sued for copyright infringement. Um,
So but yeah, I don't think that, like, any fan fiction is inherently bad. I don't know, I just feel like they're 2 different ball games, if that makes sense. So, the lack of originality doesn't inherently make fan fiction less worthy or anything like that. I hope that makes sense, but again, like, I don't really know enough about it. What's the timer for? So for everyone who's new, I see a couple of new faces in here or new numbers, the numbers going up. We are chatting, but we're also doing intermittent writing sprints and productivity sprints. So if you have anything you'd like to work on, so for me, I'm working on my book. If you want to work on homework or crochet or a drawing, literally anything productive, we're doing like Pomodoro timer type sprints where for that little like 25 or 15 or 20-minute period, we're just going to be silent and work and try to focus. And then afterwards, we catch up a little bit and relax, and then we do another sprint. Can you go over the quantum physics, please? Physics was like my worst subject. Actually, chemistry was, but I don't remember enough. Sorry. I know it's not Camp NaNoWriMo's month yet, but I already have a goal. It's not a word goal. Instead, I want to finish the first draft of my book before the end of the school year. That's a really good goal. I feel like for me, word count goals don't really work because I tend to edit a lot as I go. I think a first draft by so and so time is a great goal to have, and I think you can definitely do it. All right, let's see. Got a bit done, but I had to go back and fix some glaring mistakes. I feel that, yeah, sometimes when I'm typing too fast, just doing a rewrite, good. I had to cook dinner, but joining the second sprint, perfect. We'll be there for you. Read about 25 pages. Nice. That's like a page a minute. That's really good. Researching and plotting, no writing this round. Yeah, same here. I'm hoping definitely, I think by the next time I do a stream like this, I'll be in the drafting stage so you can hear me just typing. I don't know. Wrote 500 words, not my most productive 25 minutes, but also not very proud of what I've written so far, but that's okay. 500 words in 25 minutes is amazing, and even if you're not super proud of it, that just means you can edit it up to be something you're proud of. I reviewed my previous notes and made a few changes. Also, I decided to make my semi-sassy character fully lean into that sassiness. Yes, that is something that I've discovered with, like, character writing in general is I just want them to not do anything by half measures. I want them to, like, fully be the thing that they are. So that's super exciting. I'm glad to hear that. Um, let's see. I finished plotting out the first part of my fantasy mystery story. Nice, exciting. I think I'm gonna start outlining here in a second as well. So it's cool to see that everyone's kind of in like planner plotter mode. I didn't really plan that, but I guess with NaNoWriMo, Camp NaNoWriMo coming up, that does make sense. Not a ton, but definitely good work. Need to hop off to take a phone call, but thanks so much for the stream. Yeah, thank you for stopping by. I had to go back and add something to an earlier section, but I'm glad with how it turned out at least. Yeah. Whatever you get done, a lot of writing is tweaking. You got this. I'm researching and creating my main character's backstories. Nice. I'm like making character sheets, sort of, not sheets, but like character bios as well right now, trying to develop them up. It's hard. If you have a large cast, it is so annoying to have to come up with backstories for all of them. For my book, a lot of them kind of grew up in the same household though, so at least they all kind of have the same background. Manacled is a fan fiction I made my friend read. She wasn't a fan previously of the ship, and she said it's the best book she's ever read. Interesting. I'm kind of curious, so I'm gonna look that up. Oop. Oh, it's like okay, so it's like a Harry Potter thing. I'm sorry, I didn't mean that to sound derogatory. No, that's interesting. I bet it's super well written. I feel like there's such a large volume of like Harry Potter fan fiction writers, but I don't like Harry Potter. I'm so sorry. Island was wondering if you have thoughts around world building. Does your world building inform the plotting from the start, or do you tend to build the world around the plot and character arcs? Let me think about this. So I think I'm a theme and character first writer. I feel like everyone kind of has a different approach. So it's okay if your approach is different. For me, it's definitely like themes specifically relating to the characters' internal journeys, and then the plot comes from there. And then concept is kind of mixed in with plot. So for this, I was like, oh, here's the plot, that basic plot that I want to do, and also I want it to be gothic and kind of like a romanticy. Um, so it all is kind of a slurry in here when it starts out, but world building, definitely it starts out more bare bones kind of toward the end of that initial idea period, and then I have to build it up a lot. And excuse me. As I'm building up the world building, I also tend to develop the plot and the characters more. So I'd say that world building does kind of come not last, but it's like definitely less of a priority in like the brainstorming stage. I wrote 1,000 words during that sprint. Oh, that is amazing. This is not my norm, so this is a great evening for me. That, yeah, you should be freaking proud of yourself. 1,000 words in 25 minutes has to be some kind of record. That's amazing. Um, got 189 words in. Some of it was stuff that's been running through my head for a minute. Most of it is off the cuff stuff that I'm not entirely in love with, but that's what editing's for. Yeah, I mean, good amount of words. Good to get that stuff out. Do you have any tips or thoughts for a novel with 3 protagonist viewpoints, especially as one protagonist is the antagonist for the other 2? I actually, yeah, I wrote a book that was kind of like this. Like it had multiple points of view, and one of them was the antagonist. Just make sure they interact a lot. That was one thing where I was like, if I had written several chapters in a row of one of those points of view where like they were kind of doing their own thing, I was like, oh no, I have to bring them into the story. They like need to clash a little bit more. Yeah, so to justify, especially for that one antagonist POV, to justify the presence of that point of view, you have to make sure they're like actively always engaged in the plot. Okay, so I'm sorry. I thank you to everyone who's saying hello and dropping by. I'm gonna prioritize answering questions if that's okay. Oh yeah, it is really dark in here, sorry. Hopefully that helped a little bit. My room will just kind of get dark in the background, but yeah. All right, turns out there were no questions, so I'm gonna just go through and answer random ones. Um, by the end of the sprint, we have 28,618 words. Nice. Yeah. Wrote 600 words today, but want to get to 1K for my fantasy draft. Yeah, we can definitely do that. I started reoutlining my book again because I just wanted a stronger start. I like this much better. Yes, a good start is so hard to come by, but it is important to nail that for sure. Doing some basic outlining for my queer dystopian found family / romance novel. Super excited. Definitely in that honeymoon phase when it comes to writing. I'm in the honeymoon phase too. I like it. I miss this. I was working on mods for such a long time and also being frustrated with it for such large amounts of that time that it like I forgot that I like writing and now I'm kind of in the phase where I get to enjoy it again. But inevitably I'm gonna be like, ugh, why am I doing this to myself? Just joined the live. Love that sweater. Thank you. Once again, I have made this. Sorry, I was talking about it a lot earlier, so I just want everyone to be caught up. Good morning from Indonesia. Hi, good morning. I have to re-outline because I was trying to push a romance where it didn't make sense. Leaning into found family now. Yeah, yeah, if it doesn't work, then don't force it, for sure. I'm excited. I love found family. I feel like I haven't seen that much in a while. Although, oh, another question for y'all, if you feel like answering, what have you been reading lately? Because I've been reading Nettle and Bone by T. Kingfisher, and I really, really like it. And it kind of does have that vibe of like a little bit of found family. But it's also feels like a fairy tale. It's very much written in like a fairy tale-esque world. Highly recommend. It's a lot of fun. I feel that my prologue used to whoa, that was a all new pronunciation of the word prologue. I feel that my prologue used to be the length of a chapter, so then I rewrote the prologue as a paragraph and kept the Go prologue as the it did it again. And kept the OG prologue as the first chapter. Yeah, good call. Yeah, I recommend keeping prologue short, generally speaking. Of course, you don't have to, but if you are going for traditional publishing or anything like that, short prologue usually better. I keep rewriting the first chapter. I'm just never satisfied with what I've done, and I always get the urge to go in a different direction. Mm. Outlining will be your friend. I'm sorry if I've said this already. I have, but I hope to someone else. But yeah, I feel like if you outline, you get to play around with different directions as much as you want, and it's lower stakes because you can just, it's just a couple of paragraphs. If you don't want to do a full outline, a synopsis is always helpful to write, just like a summary that's a page or two long that kind of shows you where the story will go. How do I not get burned out from writing? I love writing and have been for a year, but sometimes it feels more like a chore than me actually having fun with it. That is okay. That is normal. It can sometimes be so painful, but I feel like it's any kind of art. As you get better at it and you kind of learn the ways in which you're a little bit weaker, a little bit stronger, I don't know, it's such a frustrating task sometimes, but as long as you're still, like, enjoying it a fair amount of the time, then that's good. I've started reading Dragon Fruit and really liking it so far. Ooh, Dragon Fruit. Not me just literally Googling book recommendations. Oh, that's such a cool cover. Oh my gosh. Oh. Oh, Pacific Island mythology. Nice. What? This is such a beautiful cover. Okay, on my TBR, instant. I'm ready. I'm almost done reading Brother, but also just picked up It Lasts Forever and Then It's Over and Chlorine. Chlorine is really, really good. Or did I think it was good? I just really liked it. I was like, every bit of this is so weird and so sometimes like genuinely gross and so like visceral and sensory that I was just like, this is an experience and I am here for it and I'm enjoying it. So I think I enjoyed it. I felt weird after it, but in like a good way. Like it definitely left an impression. If I can remember a book after I read it, that means that it was pretty good, I think. Or it was honestly terrible. But I enjoyed Chlorine a lot. That's Chlorine by I think Jade Song. Yeah, I think so. I hope it's the same Chlorine and I wasn't just talking randomly. Just finished Pride and Prejudice, and I'm like 10 chapters into Wuthering Heights. P&B took like 2 months to read, and I read another book during that time, but I liked it. Yeah, I feel like those like slower paced classics take a while to get through, but they're still super enjoyable. Mm. Sorry, staying hydrated. Pride and Prejudice 2005 is one of my favorite films of all time, and I really like the book as well. I also just finished The Astonishing Color of After, which was a new fave. I really like that book. I read it a long time ago. That's by Emily X.R. Pan. And it's a young adult book, but it felt like very, I don't know, it tackled themes like teen grief in a way that I was like, this is really resonant and it feels really honest. And it was just like a really good book that I definitely would recommend to like students and stuff. I think I don't remember if it was like inappropriate in any way, but it's a book that I would, hand to the teens in my life. But I read her other book that came out more recently. I genuinely can't remember what it's called, right? Because it wasn't good enough to leave an impression, but it was such a downgrade from The Astonishing Color of After that I was genuinely shocked. I don't even know. It was like a contemporary fantasy retelling of like a Chinese myth, I think. I can only vaguely remember. The breaks I take are very long, so I barely have energy to write more. It usually is just rewriting chapters. Mm, yeah, I mean, like, guard your energy and do what you have to. Um, I feel like writing will always kind of like be there for you. And any rush that you feel to finish anything or write anything or get anything done is just made up. Are there any projects you've truly given up on and trashed partway after a lot of effort? Ah, yes. But I feel like I'll go back to them because I'm stubborn and I always go back to stuff. There was a historical fantasy that I was working on kind of early in this YouTube channel, and it was like just historical fantasy. It was set kind of in like an alt version of like Japanese occupied Korea in the 20s, 30s. No, I hated it. I could not. It was so trashy. I'm I don't know, I might adapt that after so much more research because I just wasn't ready for that project, wasn't ready for the topic of colonization, just wasn't ready as an adult writer to handle that. Yeah, that one, maybe one day because I think it's such a good concept and idea, and the story and the characters are there, but just the setting and everything, like, I just don't even know if I'm equipped for that. The other one the other one that I kind of wanna do is an urban fantasy, and I wrote so much of it. I wrote, like, 40,000, 50,000 words of this book. Adult urban fantasy, it's about, like, a demon slaying cult and then a girl that kind of, like, was born into it and was supposed to I read a lot of cults. Something's wrong. There's something interesting there. And it's very much like she's very sassy. If you guys have read The Dead Take the A Train by Cassandra Khaw, and I think there was a co-writer, but I don't remember the co-writer's name, very sorry. I didn't love that book, but it is like the best current comp I have for what I'm talking about now, that urban fantasy project, where it's just like a character who's wrecked, like just her life is ruined and she's just barely scraping by and she's like a gremlin and a mess. And there's demons and weird esoteric stuff happening all the time. And she's just kind of like, oh, okay, gotta get my job done. So it was that kind of vibe, very like wry, humorous, kind of fun, quirky. But it just wasn't clicking. Like the voice wasn't clicking, and I feel like the world felt very generic. So I'm gonna try to do that one again at some point, but not anytime soon. Just finished Fate Like Magic. I really enjoyed it. Is that what I think it is? Yes, that's Lizelle's book. I feel so bad. I've had Blood Like Magic as a physical copy forever, and I'm such a slow reader, I haven't gotten to it yet, but I really, really would like to soon. Fortunately, I left that physical copy at home in California, so it might be when I go back. Currently listening to Fourth Wing. It's more fun than I expected, and I fear it may be a 5-star. Have you read it? No, I was actually gonna read it make to do, like, one of my really, mean videos on it, but I'm glad that you're enjoying it. I know a lot of people have been enjoying that book, and I feel like it is a lot of fun. There's just, like, some stuff about the author that I don't know, allegedly, where I'm kinda like, maybe your viewpoint has influenced the writing of this, like, military fantasy book," but I haven't read it, and I plan to eventually. For some reason, I mean, it's insanely popular. It's always checked out at the library, and every used copy is like $15. I don't know why. Oh, Blood Like Magic. Second book is called Blood Like Fate. Yeah. Or yes. Blood Like Magic and Blood Like Fate. Yes, I think that's right. Um, yeah, I hope you're enjoying it. Let me know. I've actually been getting back into Frankenstein by Mary Shelley, but I think I may read Watership Down again. I haven't read Watership Down since I was a kid. I do think that Frankenstein was one of the better books that we were forced to read in high school. Sister Lynn, I just got into writing, but I have no idea about size of book/paper, margins, fonts, etc. For now, just everything Times New Roman 12 point double spaced. So yeah, that's the industry standard. You can look up formatting and stuff like that later. I don't really know enough about book and paper because I'm not in the self-publishing realm, but yeah. What does everyone consider too long for a prologue? It depends on who you ask. More than like 5 pages, I feel like is kind of a lot. Sorry for my bad English. No, not bad at all. I mean, you got your point across, and I don't really see any issues. Right? The cover is stunning. Oh, for Dragon Fruit. Oh my god, I'm so behind. I follow the artist online. Her work is gorgeous. That art style looks really familiar, so I might also follow that artist online. This is my sign to start outlining. I've always avoided it because I felt so incompetent when I try to outline. Like my story doesn't make any sense or it's not interesting enough. So for me, I usually start with a synopsis. So each sentence kind of like I don't know how it makes more sense to me to relay a story in that way from the offset, but to have it like each plot point be laid out and you can see how they connect to each other, that is really helpful and it shows you if things make sense. Um I talk with my hands so much. Yeah, and then you can go to an outline from there. So maybe try a synopsis and see where that takes you. I'm almost done with PKD's Ubik. Next is Evocation by SD Gibson. Oh, I'll have to look those up. Actually, I've never heard of either of those. Just got home, so I'm joining super late. Are we still sprinting? Yes, I will start it soon. I am so sorry. I just get really caught up in the comments and stuff. But we'll go into that super soon. Haven't read anything in a while now. Sometimes projects take me away from it. How long does it usually take you to outline? Moths update. Not sure if you gave one already, stepped away. It usually, I don't know. I haven't really outlined in a while. If I'm really focusing, I can do it like kind of a rough outline in a day. But if I really want to take my time, do research, and like really consider the story and all of its different elements, then it depends. I guess like a couple weeks for this one now, or about a week. I'm currently like vlogging this process for this book and its outline. So I think it's been about a week since I started. Um, Hassan, oh, thank you for the donation or the super. That is very kind of you. Fourth Wing was great in my opinion. Yeah, another vote for Fourth Wing. Yeah, I mean, I have to get on it. I need to see what the hype is about. I'm so curious. This is me being a snob. I know this, but things that books that TikTok likes, historically, I haven't really enjoyed, but I think that's just because, like, my taste is just different from the general like, the TikTok crowd. Because I think I'm older than the average person on TikTok also. But ones I have liked are, like, Song of Achilles. I read that one, like, ages ago, but fantastic book. Circe. If We Were Villains by ML Rio, I think that one was really big on TikTok. Really love that one. So there's obviously, like, people and parts of TikTok with taste, but, like, the Sarah J. Maas, I've never really been into. The Colleen Hoover is, like, a hard no for me. I can't handle that, but I just don't really read contemporary. So I'm curious to see where Fourth Wing falls. In my experience and opinion, 6 pages for a prologue. Yeah, I think 6 or 5 pages is, like, the cutting off point for me. As someone who had to manage a stressful midnight release for Iron Flame for work, I would be genuinely interested in a video on the author, not at all for vindictive reasons. Oh my gosh. So I would like I never make videos on authors because like as a writer and as someone who's, like putting themselves out there on social media, I don't really feel comfortable doing personal attacks. But this is an interesting case in where like I haven't done the video yet, so I haven't researched this fully, but I did like a poll on my Patreon a while ago where I was like, "Oh, what's the next book that I should read for like a reading vlog?" And someone was like, and one of them was Fourth Wing, and someone was like, "Maybe you shouldn't read that one because the author is a Zionist." And not to, get into that because again, no confirmation, just based off a comment someone said on Patreon, very well meaning and trying to help me out. I was like, okay, so I know that this book is military fantasy, and I know that the author may or may not have these views. How does that feed into our ideas as a whole in the West about like the military industrial complex, and how does that feed into fantasy? Because a lot of fantasy has like military elements, and I have a lot of thoughts and feelings on that because like my dad was, mandatory conscription in Korea. My grandparents survived like 2 wars that, I'm not going to get into it again, but I have some opinions on like, the military and just the military industrial complex. A lot of respect for veterans, obviously, but the institution, the industry of it is something that I think that it's weird if people aren't troubled by that. And yeah, I wanted to kind of do sort of a nuanced video on how that might show like how those elements and how the way that we in the West specifically, in America specifically, kind of are brought up to view these things, like how would that show through in a book like Fourth Wing? But I haven't gotten there yet. Is there such a thing as a cold open for a book, like an unlabeled character before part 1 or chapter 1, for example? I think I might have seen it before, but is it something that people do? I think the closest thing I can think of is in medias res, where you kind of start the book with a scene that happens later in the book, but remove the context from it. Yeah, like, oh, but an unlabeled one. Maybe if it's like a page. I feel like if it's not just a page or a paragraph, then you might get into some trouble because people will probably assume that you just didn't label your chapter. But yeah, I think I've definitely seen like epithets, right? Where it's just a short paragraph or a passage in the beginning. Evocation is a queer occult story slash dark academia. I'm excited to get into it. That sounds really exciting. I would love to do that. Um, okay, feel the same about TikTok fame books, LOL. Yeah, it's just like anything, right? There's some bangers that are recommended by TikTok, absolutely, but also some misses because not everything is going to appeal to everyone. And yeah, I think especially like the young adult books, just I don't really, I try not, I don't, not that I avoid it, but it takes a lot for me to read a young adult book and be like, oh, this is something I personally really enjoyed. Yeah, exactly. I think I've made my stance on that very clear. And yeah, the other thing is I don't want to support an openly Zionist author financially, but again, have to look into it. Didn't know that about the author of Fourth Wing. I can't tell if it's like a rumor or not, but yeah, again, have to look into it a little bit more. All right, let's let's go into the sprint again. So I can rest my voice after talking more than I've spoken in so long. Let's dive right into it, and we'll see what we get done. me pop back in here. Yeah, let me know how that one went for y'all. There's another little quick one. I think I'll do probably one more, like, really short one. Maybe not. It's already been almost 2 hours, so I don't know. If you guys wanna do another, like, 10-minute quick one, let me know. If not, that is totally fine, and I'll catch you guys in the next one, but let me go through and respond to some of these. Um, my friend told me about a book she read, and she was like, "Oh, the main character kills a wolf, and wolves are my favorite animal." Oh, no. Aw. Yeah, the author of Fourth Wing is a US military wife, if I recall, and she wrote another novel that is straight up US military propaganda and like anti-SWANA based on excerpts I've seen. I think I've also heard something similar. So yeah, that's a lot that I'll have to dig into if I ever end up making that video, which all depends on if I'm able to find a used copy of that book. I'm super late to the stream because of jet lag. Hopefully next time I can get it a bit earlier. Yeah, I mean, I'll be doing these regularly. I enjoy them enough that they're going to become a fixture. So no rush at all. No pressure. Is it too late to join the live? If you're in it, this is just the tail end. So we'll see. I made it to chapter 2. Very nice. Very nice. No writing. I literally waited all day for the stream and no, I don't want to write. I'm so sorry. Well, maybe if we do another really quick one, you can at least try to get that one session in. But, if you don't want to, if it's not happening, it's not happening. But, if you want to. Oof, I feel that. Oh my gosh. 600 words, not bad. I used the sprint to get over a scene I had been stuck on for days, and I was finally able to force myself to get it moving. Yeah, sometimes all you need is a sprint and some extrinsic motivation to get yourself going. And my glasses are catching the entirety of my computer screen. Great. I wrote 327 words. Not sure if I'm happy with them, but oh well. That's a really good amount of words. I'm happy for you. But, you can always edit, so no worries about that. Do you know how many times you're gonna do these types of lives? Yeah, so I have 2 more scheduled for this month. I'm trying to be good and stick to the schedule. There's been a couple times where I've been tempted to just do an impromptu one, but the schedule is up on my community tab, and let me actually just, find it for you guys as well because why not? I believe it is next Sunday and the Saturday after that. So let me just check and see how that's going. So we have one on Sunday, June 23rd at 6 p.m. CDT. That's like Chicago time. And Saturday, June 29th at 7 p.m. CDT. And I think the weekend ones are good. It feels like more people are able to come and be engaged and write. I might try to do some earlier in the day. It all sort of depends on my schedule because I do feel like these run a little late for me and for a lot of people maybe on the East Coast. So I might try to push them up a little bit or do afternoon sprints or streams instead. Yeah, just let me know. I'm very flexible. So, everything that happens in July will depend on how you guys are feeling and what you guys want because I don't really have anything going on. But yes, I do plan to do at least this month and next month and August. I feel like I'll do these kind of indefinitely. The amount that I'm able to do them per month may fluctuate a fair amount depending on my schedule, but I want to try to do at least a couple a month. I got a little further in outlining my hard magic rules and some more background on how it was founded. Oh, dude, yes, it's I love it when magic has a backstory. That is so cool. I'm so excited. 500 words, which is a lot for me. Yeah, that's a lot for anyone. That's amazing. I chose to work in my Just for Fun project, so of course I wrote a lot. Tell me if you feel comfortable. I'd love to hear about your Just for Fun project. I mean, I miss having a Just for Fun project. I wrote, erased, researched, and then started to outline because I'm lost. Yeah, I feel that. You'll get there eventually. Can you please give me your advice on how to get good grades in high school and math? Okay, I'm a high school teacher. So, good grades. Figure out, have you started high school yet, or are you starting it soon? Where are you at? High school, the main part about it is balancing. I feel like we forget as adults how much students get, how much information. It's usually 5, 6, 7 classes of information a day. Some of the classes are less intense than others, but still, it's a lot to go through. And you're basically in there from 7 to 3, 8 to 4. It's a long day. So balance. Make sure your schedule is balanced. I know there's requirements for different classes you have to take, and God, there's so much that colleges expect kids to have done in high school, but if you can, try to make it so that your schedule is not too strenuous. Don't take all APs one year. You can scatter your APs throughout the years. Another thing, I don't know if you're going to high school in America, though. I should have not assumed. I'm sorry, but this is where my experience lies. Carving out time for studying is good. For me, when I was in high school as a student, I had a big chunk of time between the end of classes and my mock trial. I did mock trial in high school. My mock trial practice starting, that was a good time to sort of like find a quiet space and study. I know it can be hard, especially if you have a very robust home environment, to find a private space to sort of study. But if you can, you know, earbuds, anything you need, just create that environment for yourself and your brain will sort of click into it. And I know studying is a pain, but you really only need like an hour a day, if that, an hour or two. Do your homework, but also more importantly, make sure that you understand what you're doing. Don't cheat because you won't learn if you cheat. Don't use AI to write your essays. Actually put in the effort. And if you don't get as good of a grade as you want, you know what? It's better than the grade you would have gotten if you get caught using AI to write your essays, which will be an F. Just don't use AI. It frustrates me so bad. So yeah, basically find time management skills, but also go easy on yourself. Don't overload yourself. That is the surefire way to burn out before you get anything done. Review your material and also communicate with your teachers. We're here to help you. We want to help you. And if you are able to come to us, in a respectful, reasonable way, not give me an A, I want the A, but like, hey, I didn't do so well on this test and now I'm worried about my grades, but I'd love to like find a way to make it up. Or maybe I'm struggling with this particular unit and could you maybe give it like me some resources or something to help me understand it better? Communicate with your teachers. Yes, we're tired, but also we're here to help and we want you to do well. That's it. That's my spiel. There's a lot of different ways to succeed in high school, but if you just laser focus on like, if I do all the assignments and get it done, like, and just do the exam and get it done, I feel like for me, I just really want students to like absorb the material and to take something away from the class. But math was never my strongest subject, so I don't know, 100%. 232 words, amazing. How do I start writing? I want to be a screenwriter. I got a B- in my 8th grade class. Again, talk with your teachers. A B- is not a bad grade at all. That is well above passing. If you had a specific screenwriting class, that's a good person, like that teacher is a good person to reach out to. If you don't feel comfortable doing that because you're an 8th grader, then there are videos online. Lessons from the screenplay is something that I really enjoy. There's like fun educational videos that can help you sort of understand theme and writing essentials just from like analyzing popular movies that you may have seen. So that's a really good place to start. Different like YouTube channels. Any tips on world building? I'm ready to write, but I don't feel like I can start because the world building isn't done. If you're not answering, I'm answering questions. Don't worry. I love to answer questions. So the world building not being done and so I can't start is, I feel like, such a trap for writers. I'm not gonna like force you to watch these or anything, but I do, just so you know, have like a resource that's a 5-part series on fantasy world building. General tips, just off the top of my head, focus on the things you actually need for your story. Usually that's gonna be like politics and cultural, societal stuff. Maybe like gender roles or different like the global scale of politics. So if there are countries that have like, I almost said situationship, but like a negative relationship versus countries that have a more positive relationship, and that plays into your story. That's also politics. So magic system, politics, cultural stuff. History, lightly. History usually doesn't come super into play, but it's good to have. Yeah, but really just try to identify the parts of world building that will play an important role in your characters' lives in the plot, and focus on those and don't worry about the rest. The rest can be added in post in the edits. You don't have to worry about it too much. Cleaning the bathroom? Yes, nice. For me, the streams end up being around 8 in the morning on Monday. I'm so sorry. It's so hard to make it work at a good time for, like, all time zones. But I'll keep, like, moving things around and trying to find something that works for as many people as possible. Oh, any Chicago bookstore foodie tips? I don't live in Chicago, but I there's one, I feel like I know of one. Foodie tips, my partner who's from the Midwest always hates when I say this, but I feel like deep dish pizza would be fun, and Chicago dogs are famous. Cheese curds are a thing in my state. I feel like that just immediately gave away my state, but that's a good thing. Like, Midwestern food is just so, it feels so extravagant to me because 'cause I'm from California, so it's like acai bowls, avocado toast, but here it's a lot of, like, fatty foods, like the kind of foods that people use to make fun of Americans, but it tastes so good, so eat it if you can. I feel like Canada has a lot of overlap, though. For bookstores, where's the one that I heard of? I think oh, they have a Powell's Books in Chicago, which is a good bookstore. It seems like they just have a ton of bookstores, so have a blast. 256 this time, 445 in total. Nice. Can't wait for the next scene. Oh, it's so good when you have a scene that you're really excited to write coming up. The villain and the protagonist just sit down, hang, and drink. That's awesome. That sounds really fun. I really want to be a flexible person, but I procrastinate so much. Yeah, I procrastinated a lot in high school too. It's very normal, especially when you have so much going on in the school day. But don't worry about it. Like, it's not especially your first year, it's, like, such an adjustment year in high school. It's not very high stakes. I feel like I shouldn't be saying that, but from what I remember, it wasn't very high stakes for me, and it's more of a time to just sort of, like, get that transition over with, and, you have so much going on as a freshman in high school. So don't worry, you'll be fine, and, um, if you have identified that you have a procrastination issue, that is step 1 to fixing it. I've discovered that, at least for my first 2 books, which they aren't a series and I haven't written the second one yet, they both have the theme of shadows and dark magic in them. Oh, cool. That's a fun theme. The average school hour is literally the average work hour. The school system was set up to prepare children to work 8 hours a day. Yeah. It you know what? It's not ideal. There's things that could be improved. That's all I'll say. Yeah, it is. I'm sorry, Adam, but I feel like you'll catch the next one, so don't worry. Oh, it's just a regular degular romance, but I really like my characters and might make them a part of a real novel at some point. But romance is a real novel. Um, but yeah, if it's just this is, I think, about the Just for Fun. Yes, the Just for Fun project. Um, yeah, I mean, if you're having fun with it and if you like the characters, might as well repurpose them or even turn the book if it's, if you think that it's not a real novel, then you can do stuff to make it a real novel. But I feel like a romance is a real novel. Deep dish pizza, let's go. I have yet to taste it. I want it so bad. Good high school advice. Deep dish pizza, yay. Sorry, I thought you said Chicago, but now realizing yes, I'm sorry. I feel like people don't know what CDT is because I didn't know what that acronym meant, so I just try to say like, "Oh, the Chicago time zone," so people kind of have like a frame of reference. I tried reading Lord of the Rings, and now I'm like, "What is wrong with you writers?" You know what? I don't know. Um, I have not ever read Lord of the Rings. I only watched the movies, like, last year. They're very long. They're such long films. Do you have any examples of antagonist mentors? Example, the mentor is corrupting one of my protagonists into the antagonist of the story at the cost of their humanity and mentality. Um, I also immediately thought of Ra's al Ghul. So, yes, yeah, I feel like that's a common thread. I'm sorry, I feel like it's silly of me to mention a book that no one has read yet, but Moths does have this angle to it. Um, let's see if there's anything I can think of from a book. I can't. I'll have to circle back on that one. If anyone in the comments can think of like a book or a pop culture example for Austin's question, just drop it in the chat. Sorry, I meant real as in not just for fun. Oh, yeah, no worries, no worries. Yes, romances are very real. I didn't think that. I just meant that, like, it doesn't necessarily for you, for your case, just because it has a romance in it. I don't know. Maybe that came across weird from my end, but yeah, I fully support your just for fun project. Don't know what that means. Okay, so you know what? Screw it. Let's do another 10-minute sprint. Let's let's do it. Oh, yes, that's a good one. Sorry. The Traitor Baru Cormorant has an antagonist mentor. Yes, I love that book. It's so freaking good. Last one. How did you get into the publishing industry? So I'm not really in the industry. I did have an agent for a fair number of years there. So I had a literary agent and I have been on submission twice with books. None of those books sold, so I'm not like and I left my agent, so I'm not currently in the industry at all. Um, for how to get into the publishing industry, write a book, edit it a lot, and if the market is good and you're a little bit lucky, you can query literary agents, and that's how you get your foot through the door. I do have a couple of videos on kind of the process of traditional publishing, and I plan to do an updated one soon, but that is generally the first step is just write your book and get started with that and then try to find representation for it because your representation is ultimately the person who is going to sell your book if you're going for traditional publishing, which has its pros and cons, as we all know. If you're trying to get into the publishing industry as in like a job, like an editor, wow, I'm pronouncing words so fun today. Like as an editor as an editor in any other capacity, then there are usually internships. However, I do have to put this out there, like historically traditional publishing pays people very poorly, especially at the entry level, and because a lot of traditional publishing is based in New York City, it's not usually a livable wage, so this is a very hard industry to break into if you don't have a sufficient support network or if basically you need the publishing income to support yourself at all. So, fair warning, doesn't pay super well usually for a very long time, and it sounds like a lot of editors are overworked, but okay, just a couple more. Just two more. Hello, Lynn. Another question. What are your opinions on friend characters who have an impact on the story but can often get overshadowed? I love friend characters. I think platonic relationships are beautiful. I love to write about them. I love messy platonic relationships as well. I think that they're very important, even if they don't. Okay, so the thing that happens with platonic relationships in fiction is usually when the story starts, those relationships are already established. And if it's not, then people will call it found family. So if it's two characters developing a platonic relationship or more, that's found family. If it's two or more characters already having a platonic relationship, then the relationship kind of has not a lot of directions to go in. So if you want to write a platonic relationship that is already established and has impact on the story, then make sure the individual characters, same with romance, have their own stakes in the story. And also make sure their relationship deepens in some way. And that's my opinion on friend characters who can get overshadowed. What is the proper way to get an agent? Email structure, what to speak about and what not to speak about. So you will write a query letter always. There's a ton of resources online for how to write a good query letter. A friend of mine has actually just launched like a master class on it, and her name is Kat Lewis. So that is, I'll drop her name here, but that is like a class. There's a lot of different resources you can look at to get started, but the quality of them will vary. I would say just like read and absorb as many different successful or query letters that landed an agent as you can first, just to get an idea of what is going on.
And then you probably need to find like at least a couple people who know what a query letter should look like. So there's a bunch of different ways to go about this. Like there's a lot of resources that you can find through social media. Sometimes even agents themselves would like sorry, I'm like reading the chats as they come in. Sometimes agents themselves will have like giveaways for query letter feedback or something like that, but you can't really rely on that. So just read a bunch of different query letters, and that is the structure. And it's a pretty like you have to kind of adhere to that structure. If you just send an email to an agent who is like a real agent saying like, "Hey, I wrote a book, read it. Here's the entire manuscript." You're going to get blocked. You're going to get blocked, disregarded, ignored. Um, and the query letter formula template will kind of include everything that you want to talk about, include, and what not to say and what not to mention. It's kind of annoying because I mean, like, I do think that it's not that big of a deal that there's this very formulaic way to kind of pitch books to your agents or to literary agents, but it is kind of annoying that the resources are kind of scattered, and if you don't know people who already kind of have their foot through the door, it's hard to kind of make a good query letter on your own. But there are resources and they're very much out there. But on top of a query letter, of course, you need a finished, edited by yourself, um, strong manuscript, and you probably need a synopsis, 1 to 2 pages, that describe what happens in that manuscript. Because agents, you don't ever send an agent your entire book without them asking first. Usually, they'll let you know if they want the synopsis, if they want the first 10 pages, 50 pages, 100 pages, whatever, but never the whole book. But just make sure you have that whole book finished. Like the British saying laboratory or advertisement as if they're what how do they say advertisement? Advertisement. Is that what it is? As if they're Shatner. I just sometimes pronounce words weird. I've been like this my whole life where I kind of just pronounce words how they read. Like I look at a word and I'm like, "Oh, that's how it sounds," and I say it. And it's not never that way, but often it is not that way. And I've been bullied for it all my life by my friends who I love very much and who give me so much shit for it. Okay, we're doing the last one, 10 minutes. Is everyone ready? All right, let's go. I just finished up personally like the last not the last, but a couple chapters of the outline, which now that I'm looking at it, I kind of don't know if I'm gonna do a dual point of view, which is what I was leaning toward, but we'll see. Okay, I guess that's it for the stream. If you guys have any other questions, I'll give it like 5 minutes or so. It's probably gonna be longer than that, but we'll see. Hi, sorry that it's ending, but hi, thank you for coming on. A lot of helpful how to write a query letter videos are floating around. Due to poor memory retention, I try to earmark them for a day in the far future when I finally have a novel polished. Yes, one thing I will say is that there's definitely like quite a bit more like helpful querying resources out there um, than there was even when I was querying like 5 years ago for the first time. So it's really nice to see. And definitely like exhaust your free resources and try to figure out as much as you can for yourself. But I would recommend having someone look over your query letter just because it's kind of like a weird nuanced thing where you're like, never, I don't know, unless you've dealt with them a lot, it's hard to tell if it's any good or not because it's so different from like normal good writing. I don't know. Is there really any difference between an alpha and beta reader? No, not really. Just like the stages at which they read. It was nice chatting with you. I'll be back for more querying tips. Bye, Lynn, and have a great night. Bye to you too. Thank you so much for dropping by. Thanks for the stream. I've decided I'm going to go for a duology, and I'm almost done plotting the first book. Very nice. Yeah, I love duologies, so that's super exciting. What's your strategy for keeping up with your daily word count? I don't actually do a daily word count. I usually set more macro goals because that's more helpful for me with my fluctuating schedule, but I usually write at least like 100 words a day, and that's just kind of what I do. Thank you for hosting. Also recommend the Shit No One Tells You About Writing podcast as a resource, co-hosted by 2 agents and an author, and they go over 2 queries each week. That sounds great. I've actually never heard of that, but that sounds really excellent. 180 words. Glad I caught the stream this time. Thanks for hosting as always. Thank you for coming in. Do you know if you'll go live again sometime soon? Yes, I am going live again next or 2 Sundays from now. I think it's like June 23rd and June 27th. No, that can't be right. It's so hard for me to like remember stuff or like hold numbers and dates in my head. Let's look at the community tab. So I have 2 scheduled streams, and one is for June 23rd. That's a Sunday. That's 6 p.m. CDT, which is Chicago time. And June 29th, Saturday, 7 p.m. CDT, also Chicago time. Only caught the tail end of the stream. Doesn't matter. Thank you so much for coming by. Good night, Lynn. I aspire to have clear skin like you. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, thanks, Sabrina. It's so nice to see you on here. Yeah, I'm so happy that you were able to stop by for this one. I hope you got some stuff done. 606 words in total. Very nice. Only problem I have now is word count. I may be going over by a page or 2 or 3. You know what? That's what cutting and editing is for. I think you'll be perfectly able to get it back to your desired word count. Thanks for the stream. It's the first time I joined for more than one sprint. Looking forward to the next one. Yeah, I hope to see you there. All right. Thank you so much, everyone. I'm going to end it now, but I appreciate y'all for coming and hanging out for however long you were able to. And I hope I see you guys at the next one on the 23rd. Yes, the 23rd. Thank you so much. Bye.